start with, and then we swaddle on top of that. Well, the SNOO now has, like, you take the baby, you put the baby in the bag, so it's not like those other swaddle bags that are all over the market that are really unsafe, and I'll talk about later in this live. It's a different type. So you put the baby in the bag in the SNOO, and then you Velcro the baby's arms to their chest. Fantastic. They now can't use their arms to roll to their tummy. You then zip the SNOO bag up. Problem is, no blankets. And baby learns to sleep on their back in the SNOO, which also will motion if the baby gets upset or starts sucking or whatever. So look, really good in the fact that this doctor, pediatrician in America, has created a really safe space, because as he said in his interview, which is linked to from my story on Facebook, I will link to it in the comments after this live, I will link to it in the comments. As he said, we know sleeping babies on their back prevents SIDS, sudden infant death. He is doing an amazing job of educating parents and teaching parents to sleep their babies on their back. Fantastic. He touched on, okay, I didn't like this, but that's okay. We don't have to like everything. And it's not his fault I didn't like it. He just doesn't know. I think he must be a lot younger than me. I'm quite old, actually. I'm half 100 in a couple of weeks. I have a big birthday in a couple of weeks and I'm half 100. He doesn't seem to know about Anne Diamond. Anne Diamond, mother of Sebastian. I know about Anne Diamond because when I was a little girl, my brother was stolen one night by cot death, which is the former name of SIDS. It used to be called cot death, it's now called SIDS. Now, Anne Diamond, my brother died in 1981. Anne Diamond's baby died in the 90s. And now Anne Diamond was a journalist, is a journalist. It was like the morning show. She was on every single morning. And it would be like Carl Stefanovic for people in Australia, or even Carrie Ann Kennelly. You know, is that her name? Carrie Ann show? I upset her once because she tried to end her show saying, oh, so you say all babies with dummy are dummies? And I said, no. And you're not supposed to say no because that was the end. And they went, over, cut. And I went, no. I'm saying that the word dummy came from the fact that people noticed babies with dummies spoke later. Cut. And they had to leave it on because it was live. And she never had me back on her show because you're supposed to end on whatever she decides to end on. But I decided not to because it was very negative. Anyway, so Anne Diamond would have been the equivalent. She was on the morning show every day when I was a baby. Now, Anne Diamond realised, well, let me just read something out of her book, which I was looking at earlier, and I thought I'm going to read it to you like a little bedtime story. So basically, before I read this, when Anne's baby died of SIDS, she was trying to work out why. I want to know why. I want to know why my baby died during the night. Why was my baby still? And the worst thing was it was her other little boy's birthday. I mean, how terrible. They got up for his birthday and the baby Sebastian didn't wake up. Now, she was trying to find out why. And in trying to find out why, she found how many babies in the United Kingdom. That's England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales died of SIDS every night. This is in her book. It was barely believable, but that meant over 20 a week, over 2,000 babies a year. I think I wrote the wrong thing in my blog on the start of this live. I'll have to get one of the girls to edit it. But anyway, back to this. It was unbelievable. Over 2,000 healthy babies went to bed each night. 2,000. How come we'd never heard about it? How come there wasn't an enormous government inquiry? How come there wasn't questions asked in-house? How come it wasn't a national scandal? How could we simply accept it? What was wrong with us? In every year in this country, meaning England, Ireland, Scotland, Northern Ireland, England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, yeah, United Kingdom, yeah. In every year, if 2,000 young adults were found dead, dying in their sleep, we would have done something about it. What the hell was going on with this civilized country of ours? Why didn't we care that I'm saying this on the end, but this isn't exactly what she wrote, but she's basically saying, why didn't we care that 2,000 babies were dying? Now, the interesting thing was that this doctor this morning on this YouTube clip, or the news clip, said, you know, if that many babies who are dying in America were dying, the country would go to war. If somebody was coming and killing that many infants or that many adults a year in America, they'd go to war against the person who was killing them. But yet nobody seems to really worry about babies at this time, back in the 90s, who were passing away from SIDS. But we're still not that worried. And in Australia, the number of babies dying in bed has decreased, but it's still large. We'll go back to that in a second. I just want to go back to the Anne Diamond for a second. What upset me about, I loved what he was saying this morning, but what upset me was he said American pediatricians had discovered sleeping on your back. No. Anne Diamond discovered it. She was a journalist and she just went to find out what had happened to her baby. And one of the things she found out was, why were families who emigrated to New Zealand, so English families who'd moved to New Zealand, first, second, third generation of English families in New Zealand, why were their babies not dying of SIDS? Why were babies in England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, why were our babies dying of cot death? Why were New Zealand babies not? So she went to find out, and she found out that in New Zealand, babies were slept on their backs. Can you believe that? Can you believe that New Zealand, who I don't really want to say, who beat the rugby in the World Cup at the weekend, you know, so now we're out, they knew. When she brought this back to the UK, they didn't want to do anything about it. So it wasn't paediatricians in America, it was Anne Diamond. Thank you, Anne Diamond. Now, back to the SNOO. So, he was saying this morning how, and it was interesting because he talked about car seats, and he was saying how, you know, we put babies in car seats and we strap them in. You wouldn't dare put a baby in a car seat and drive them and not strap them in. He knows that if he puts a baby in a SNOO, or, you know, his type of baby crib, and straps the baby in, they stay on their back. Why is every baby in America not being put to bed in that type of bed and being strapped in? Now, he was saying something about the fact that he's going to be able to make these free for everybody, and I think in Australia you can rent them for a certain amount of money, but why? Yes, that's fantastic. Yes, he's great. Yes, it's brilliant. What are the positives about the SNOO? The positives are the wrap now straps the baby's hands the correct way. It's not one of those dangerous sleep swaddle bags with a zip up the front with the arms in or the arms up in this position. So that's fantastic. It keeps infants on their back. It can be next to the mum's bed or the dad's bed. Dr. Golly is fantastic, or Jolly or Golly, I can't remember what his name is. He is fantastic. He says, put the baby's cot, crib, bassinet on the dad's side if the dad doesn't smoke, isn't taking drugs, etc., isn't on strong medication. So dad has to deal with baby sometimes during the night. That's not always mum. That's a really good tip. He also says, and I say, babies should sleep in the room with the parents if we're not smokers, etc. Now, so the SNOO's fantastic because it will go next to bed. But what are the negatives? Well, the negatives are, at what point are you going to stop strapping your baby down for sleep? You know, the SNOO doesn't go through to adulthood. The SNOO doesn't go through to 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 2 years. So what, again, like this is fantastic and the work's fantastic and the SNOO's fantastic. But again, what do we do when our baby hits the age that they can roll? Oh, it's okay. Once babies can roll, they can roll. Let's not worry about it. No, it's not okay. Like, it's the same as people saying it's okay to turn your baby around in the car seat once they hit a certain age. It might be okay, but it's not safe. So for all the parents out there who don't believe in extended rear-facing car seats, I look at extended back sleeping in beds the same. Now, look at extended rear-facing in car seats, right? We know that the chance of you having an accident in your car is very slim. And we know that if babies are rear-facing in cars, they are so much better off, and the chance of them having serious injury in a car accident if they're rear facing is so much less. So lots of people have got on the bandwagon and gone extended rear facing, extended rear facing, extended rear facing. Why is it acceptable, when you look at the statistics, that a baby over 6 months can also die in their crib, in their cot, of SIDS? It's often called SUDI. Now, what's the difference? SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome, and then SUDI is the sudden unexpected death of an infant. I think more of the cases over 6 months are SUDI, the sudden unexpected death of an infant, and I'll explain the difference in a minute. But why are we not preaching extended back sleeping? Why do we preach extended rear car seat travel, not extended back sleeping in cots? You know, babies still die over the age of 6 months. They roll to their tummies. They end up face down in a mattress in daycare that's plastic. Pause there for a sec. This week, I'm going to be sharing in the file section a great letter that somebody has written to their daycare, and with her permission, I'm sharing it in the support group. So if you go to saveoursleep.com, click on advice, join the support group. You pay your $8 housekeeping fee, and then we will send you a link to join the support group. Then in the support group later in the week, in the file section, will be a great document on what you can send to your daycare. It's just a letter. It's just an idea. Because go to your daycare and at sleep time and see how your baby's sleeping. And if your baby is sleeping on their back with their face and head uncovered. Now, you can go to your daycare at any time during the day, unannounced, at your child's sleep time, and check on them sleeping. That's acceptable. I would go to your daycare and see if they are sleeping on their back. If they are sleeping on their back with their face and head uncovered, fine. If they are sleeping on their tummy, or if they are catnapping, which is causing night problems, have a look at this document, okay, a letter, and see if you can get your daycare to use the correct bedding. Now, so babies over 6 months will roll to their tummy, will end up face down in the mattress because they are cold. If they are face down in the mattress, they are at risk of SIDS, or of SUDI, sudden unexpected death of an infant. Too many people are using infant comforters in the cots, which are not safe. It is not safe to use a large-headed infant comforter. There's lots of brands out there where the heads are too big. You need to check the head. It needs to be like about that size, like the Save Our Sleep heads, maybe about that size. You need to check that your baby can't roll over and balance on the head of the comforter, right? These are the things that are important. Now, why are we saying it's okay once they can roll? It's not. So what do? We need to teach extended back sleeping. So back to the SNOO. Should you use a SNOO? Yes, you could use a SNOO. But at what age are you going to move your child from the SNOO into a cot? And at what age are they going to no longer be strapped down? Like, you're strapping these babies down and they can't move. Well, babies with the correct bedding don't want to move, so you don't need to strap them down. So my advice to all new parents would be, first of all, if you're using a SNOO, consider using bedding in it. Read the manual. I don't know if it's allowed. If it's not allowed, consider moving your child to a cot. My advice to everybody would be extended back sleeping. So how do we do it? When I say extended back sleeping, I'm talking about a baby sleeping on their back with their face and head uncovered until the age of 2 or over. My 9-year-old and my 14-year-old still sleep on their back because they've always slept on their back because it's what they've learned. So, and on a cold day, if the heating's gone off or it's a freezing night, they might roll to their tummy. I go in, I turn the thermostat up a tiny bit in their room, and they move back to their back. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, I would go out and buy a cheap cot. Not cheap as in made badly, cheap as in not expensive. So get yourself to IKEA and buy an IKEA cot with slats the whole way around. Or go to somewhere like Target, Kmart. All cots in Australia pass safety standards. Get yourself a budget cot. Or go to somewhere like Baby Bunting and get a lower range cot if you cannot afford a top of the range cot. Now, we sell smoke-free mattresses. We are the only people in Australia to do Australia-made, no import chemicals, etc., smoke-free mattresses. If you get one from somewhere else, great, do. If you can't, remember we have them. So put your money into the mattress. Smoke-free mattress is the first thing. We know cigarette smoke is connected to SIDS. We know if you can breastfeed, your baby is less likely to pass from SIDS. I believe that could be connected to the fact that if you breastfeed incorrectly, so on demand, and you don't breastfeed when your baby cries a hungry cry, you don't sleep very well, your baby doesn't sleep very well. Maybe they never get to a deep sleep, so maybe that's the connection. So formula feeding mums out there, I think babies who are breastfed on a routine, the milk is very like formula. So I'm not quite sure that this whole breast reduces SIDS is correct. I think it might only be correct in the fact that it is babies are waking more because they are hungry, because they are not having the nice, thick, creamy milk. I won't go on about milk now. So not 100% sure. I quote it because that's what they say. You know, breastfed babies are safer at night from cot death and SIDS. But why? I would like to know. I'd love somebody to do that research. So we know the sleeping them on the back. We know no dummies, you know, dummies can cause infection, throat infection, ear infections, can cause temperature. So I would say no dummies. Smoke-free environment, smoke-free pregnancy. Now, the fantastic thing is that when, and I'm going to share it in the comments, SIDS and kids is now called Red Nose, and I will share this in the comments. Red Nose have now got education for the influencers. So all of these people who go all over social media and show pictures, it's very interesting because one of them was chatting to Red Nose a few years ago and was saying, oh, you know, we share all this stuff, but it's not how we sleep our babies. And I find it really, really interesting because there's so many famous influencers out there who use Save Our Sleep, follow Save Our Sleep, buy the Save Our Sleep mattress, buy all the Save Our Sleep bedding, are in the support group or talk to me privately. They follow all of my guidelines, but yet they go on social media and show their baby in dangerous products. And then one of them was chatting to Red Nose saying, oh yeah, but we just do it for the sponsorship. So Joanne Ferry says, antibodies in breast milk can prevent illness. Infection, yeah, you're right. Infection, respiratory issues affect breathing. Well done, Anne. You are absolutely right in coming on and saying that. Yes, it can. And as I was saying a minute ago, dummies can cause infections and infections can cause high temperatures and high temperatures have been connected to SIDS. However, the breast milk with the antibodies, I understand what you're saying with infection, but the thing about these babies, after they have passed from SIDS, they cannot find infection. So it's interesting, and yes, we all know breast is best, and I agree that breast is best, and I know about the antibodies, etc., but I still wonder if, and I'd love for you to come back on and say if you think there's any credit or not credit in what I'm saying. Was it Anne in what I'm saying? Joanne, in what I'm saying, Joanne. So Joanne, I don't know whether you're a paediatrician, midwife, breast is best, etc. I'd love to know your thoughts on, do you 100% believe that it's the breast milk antibodies that are saving babies from SIDS and that's why less breastfed babies pass from SIDS? Or is it that bottle-fed babies sleep deeper? And then is it that the breast milk, they arouse more? Because that's what I've heard. And then I can't help but wonder if babies feeding on a routine where the milk is routine. So you express from your breasts either by the baby sucking or with a pump at the same time every day. And then does that milk become more like formula? And then do they sleep more deeply? Way too big. I'll never find out in my lifetime. I'm hoping one of my boys becomes a scientist and proves, one, about that, two, you know, the thicker milk, one about, you know, does the breast milk, why does breastfed babies, etc., how does it help them from SIDS? Two, is the thicker milk make them sleep deeper? Three, bedding prevents SIDS. I'd love one of my kids to be a scientist. There is one of the big universities in Melbourne who's looking at doing research with me on bedding and how it affects sleep. But as I said, Joanne, could you tell us what your if you're if you are a mum who's very interested in breastfeeding, if you're a lactation consultant, if you're a pediatrician, if you've looked into this. Okay, so potentially both. The formula can be harder to digest and make you feel, okay, and you don't need to say what you are, Joanne, but I just love when people come on to these lives. It's brilliant. The more advice we can give to parents, the better. So we're talking about, the influences. Yes, so with the influences. So I'm going to put a link up. So the fantastic thing is that SIDS and Kids, now known as Red Nose, have now got a document that they send out that influencers can read. Now, of course, there's things on the document which I go, I wish that wasn't there, but I understand why it has to be there. So let's talk for a second about this. How long should you sterilise bottles for? Well, if you are living in a very clean house and you wash your dishes every day and you wash your bottle after every formula feed or breastfeed, and some people say you don't need to sterilise after breast milk, etc. But let's say you're living in a very clean house and you asked a maternal health nurse how long you should sterilise for. The maternal health nurse will give you the statistic on what she's been told to say, but in her brain, she'll be thinking, you probably don't need to sterilise at all because your house is so clean and everything's so perfect and you're over, washing everything, right? Not that that's a problem. But if the same maternal health nurse went into a house where there was beer cans on the bench, cigarette stubs, put out in the beer cans. I've seen this. I used to work in London and I used to go to tower blocks, and I was in Manchester at one point, and I'm not saying everyone in Salford's like this, but I went to a tower block in Salford and I was a bit shocked. I've seen this, where there is beer cans on the coffee table, there's cigarette butts put out in ashtrays, and there's a baby crawling around. And there's bottles which look like they've been used and left sitting at the kitchen bench for a week. Now, they are going, and then you're going to wash it, and they don't have a dishwasher. The maternal health nurse is going to look at that situation and think, you need to sterilise till your kid's 4 years old. Not exactly, but you know what I mean. So the same comes to SIDS, Kids, Red Nose and bedding. They can't put out in their document, hey, if you're using Tizzie Hall, not that they would mention me, but if you're using really good blankets, like cellular blankets, so breathable blankets. So our cellular blanket is cellular, it's got holes in it. Our heirloom blanket is cellular because it has holes in it, but we don't call it cellular, we call it heirloom. And our luxury blanket is got holes in it. The luxury blanket, also, if you hold it up, you can see light through it. They're all classed as cellular. They're not going to say if you're using those blankets, it's okay to use them. And if you're using a Save Our Sleep comforter, because the head's small, it's okay to use it. They're never going to say that. So when I link to this document and it says, tuck the blankets in, everybody knows I say cocoon. When it says no comforters in the cot till your child's over 7 months, I don't agree. No comforters in the cot till your child's over 2 years. 2 years. Unless it's a Save Our Sleep one that I know the head's the right size, etc. Okay? And then I say you can use it for newborn if your baby's wrapped. If your baby isn't wrapped, you have to wait till your baby's older. Okay. All of that's on there. Just skim through it. I want you to go to, I think it's page 5, where it talks about swaddles. I want to jump for joy. It now says on this document for influencers not to show babies sleeping in cocoon type bags. That swaddles, which sits up the front with the arms in. Yay! I've been saying this for 4 years, and it takes a long time for these big corporations to catch up and be able to say this stuff, because they can't, like me, come on a live feed and go, hey, this is the news of today. Don't use a bag where the arms are in because your baby can use their arms and flip to their tummy. They can't say that because they have to do research, go to the board, see how many babies are dying in these bags, decide if they want to make this statement, etc. So I'm so happy, and I'm going to share the link. So back to, how do we do extended back sleeping? We do it because we remove any mattress protector from our cot. So we've got a cot with slats the whole way around. We've removed any mattress protector. We've replaced it with a Save Our Sleep mattress protector or a cotton towel. We are using cellular blankets, etc., or the Save Our Sleep ones. We're using the wrap and a wrap. So we've got the baby in what the bedding guide says, which I linked to. So the bodysuit, the baby grow, the wrap and a wrap, and then we've got blankets over the top. The blankets make the baby feel safe and secure. They're not weighted blankets. It's in blankets with beans, etc. in them, but they're blankets with weight. These babies stay on their backs because they feel safe and secure. When you remove the wrap, you change what they wear under their safe sleeping bag. We add the safe sleep bag at 8 weeks. Then when you remove the wrap, and you've also got to remember that the Save Our Sleep sleep bags all have the same inside. Some children don't like certain sleep bags on the market because all the insides are different for every tog. Save Our Sleep have the same inside for every tog. So you go to the sleeping bag, you use the blankets. If your baby rolls to their tummy, you put them back on their back, you put some extra blankets on, all explained in my videos and bedding guides. So that is how we do extended back sleeping. Keep your children on their back till 2 if you can. Why do extended car sleeping and not extended back sleeping? And the good news is, cost of living. Now, this doctor this morning with the SNOO, he was talking about how he's trying to get them out there free. I don't know how he's doing it. I'd love to know. If anyone has a SNOO, how much did it cost? Did you get it free? Do you like it? How did you transition your child from the SNOO into the cot? Did you use Save Our Sleep bedding in the SNOO? I would love to know all of this. If you're watching, know the answers, please put up a post and comment and say. Now, he says he's getting them to people free. I can't do that. I'm not in the position. I'd love it if I was a millionaire. I'd love it if I could do that. I can't. But what I can do is say, cost of living, we have lots of offers on the website. So go to the website, click on the offers. I don't want to say what today's offers are because they change every day, but there is offers. We have reduced the price of our bedding to really try and help you keep your baby safe. If you are watching and you can't afford the bedding, please contact me because there is something we will be able to do to help you. We can't just give you the bedding for free, but we might be able to help you. There's women in the support group who are happy to lend bedding, etc. So please look at that. Now, another thing which I just want to touch on is it Dr. Golly or Dr. Jolly? Can somebody please tell me? Anyhow, he has brought out a book and it is really, really good. I think, I haven't read it. I'm presuming it's good because I'm looking on his social media account and he says there's no such thing as sleep regressions. I agree. There is no such thing as sleep regressions. Sleep regressions are sleep problems. There's a cause for the problem. What's the problem? Problem is 8 weeks. You haven't introduced a safe sleeping bag under the wrap. Problem is 8 weeks, your baby starts catnapping. That's the 8-week sleep regression. Maybe they're hungry. Maybe they don't have enough bedding, etc. 4-month sleep regression. The problem is your baby needs iron in their diet, etc. That's really good. But you know what's really good? Last night he put up a little post and he was talking about sleep regressions. And you know, I took it as a little compliment. He mentioned the routines in his book. He called them Save Your Sleep, but I took it as a compliment. Save Our Sleep. I have not read the routines in his book, but I know that my routines work and I know he knows my routines work and I know lots of my clients go to him. So he called the routines Save Your Sleep and I secretly was like, thank you for the little mention because it made me feel good and it makes me feel good that there is a paediatrician out there. Now, obviously the best paediatrician in the world is Dr. David Carolyn at Francis Perry House, who looked after all of my babies, especially he didn't look after my first in New Zealand, but he looked after my 3 who I brought home from hospital. And he looked after all of them, but